wear that jacket with pride. And I say that because everywhere I go, I don't say I'm from Brooklyn. I don't say I'm from New York. I say I'm from Brownsville. And as I said earlier, there's a toughness that comes with that. The whole slogan "Never ran, never will," like that's a positive notion because we don't run from issues. We face them head on, and we take come what may. We're gonna rise above that challenge. Um, whatever. Like I mean, I think that's the best I can say with that. Because I wear Brownsville as a badge of honor. I don't wear it as something that I shall hold my head down for, and I don't, and I won't.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Chris Dorsini. I'm a public servant, a community leader, and a Brownsvillian. My mother moved here when she was 8. My grandmother moved up from Norfolk, Virginia. Initially, she moved to Long Island, and then moved to I know she quickly wised up and moved to Sackman Street, and she stayed. They were in the house for about a year, and then they moved into Glenmore in 1968.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, my mother attended PS 332 and Maxwell High School, and we've been in Brownsville ever since. So these are the things that's usually associated with Brownsville: high crime, low, high unemployment, low education, poor, unsuccessful. Those are some of the notions that people think of when people hear the word Brownsville, or people are surprised when I do say that I come from Brownsville and I live in Brownsville. This was especially prevalent, going to college. People, I would say I'm from Brownsville, and people will give me a look of surprise, um, and surprise and shock that a person like myself comes from what they perceive as a bad neighborhood. Despite what anybody may say about Brownsville, especially coming from the inside, I invite them to, come in and take a walk through and see what Brownsville actually has to offer. All the misnomers, all the misconceptions. I remember, an excerpt from this book, The New Brooklyn, and the author wrote, gentrification will be the best thing that ever happened to Brooklyn. Mind you, she lives in Park Slope, you know, makes a lot of money, and has not set foot in Brownsville. And so just imagine, like, these are people that are driving a narrative on how Brownsville is and what needs to happen. Again, these are people who may have good intentions, but without knowing the issue, you intend to fail. And then you intend to fail the people that you're thinking of helping. And so, like, to those people that have those misconceptions, I would gladly take them on a walk into a Brownsville, a walk through the developments, a walk in the streets, and to see what Brownsville really is. And it really is a community that cares about its own. We care about our own, and like we strive just like the next man or woman or child. Well, I remember vividly like growing up and having, or what stood out to me growing up is having that network of people who cared about my well-being as well as the well-being of the friends I grew up around or my fellow neighbors. In particular, for example, I went to pre-K at Brownsville Child Care Center, and from there, you know, I ended up going to PS 332, and at the behest of the late Dr. Kite, he convinced my parents to attend PS 298, which has been since renamed the Dr. Betty Shabazz School.
Mm-hmm.
The superintendent of District 23 at the time, Dr. Kathleen Cashin, then convinced my parents once again to attend Teachers Preparatory High School. And this is around the time I was supposed to go to Brooklyn Tech. I was all set to go, and because the superintendent reached out personally to my parents, asking that I attend Teachers Prep. That's where I ended up. And while there, we was able to set the tone of how the high school should be, the growth of the high school, and became one of the became the first graduating class of that high school. So when I think of Brownsville, in a sense, it's that network, that community, that that togetherness that I believe is unique. I would say around 5. I at my kindergarten graduation. The short answer is yes, but at my kindergarten graduation, I did declare that I'll be the president of the United States. And since then, I've worked to achieve that goal. I know it was probably, I don't know what was going through my head at the time. I honestly can't remember, but I do know that that's exactly what I said I was going to be. And as I grew up and as I became more politically and governmentally aware, that fire, I should say, welled up, and I'm still marching down that path. And I think me being from Brownsville sheds a bigger light into the fact that somebody from Brownsville can become president. Somebody just because I'm from Brownsville, you know, you have that argument of nature versus nurture, and it's where you're from. You're already predetermined of who you're going to be, and not these are people that's coming from the outside, that's speaking from the outside, not knowing that my nature and that nurture is they're predominantly the reasons why I'm the person that I am today. Mm-hmm. And I think that's not publicized enough. That's not the stories that you hear on News 12. Those are not the stories that you hear on Channel 7 or any other news outlet. It's the next shooting, the next killing. They're not talking about the community gardens. They're not talking about the kids who are excelling in the arts or excelling in spelling bees and whatnot that come from Brownsville. Mm-hmm. And so again, I believe that me coming from Brownsville will make more of an impact than a lot of people would think. A lot of people will look at me and think that I'm the exception to the rule, and I'm not the exception to the rule. Like, I am Brownsville. I am that culture. There are a multitude of people who are politically active, who are socially active, and who go day in and day out as we are living our daily lives. How can we contribute to the growth of Brownsville, the betterment of Brownsville? And that's, if nothing else, is the glass ceiling I want to break. Is that I'm not an exception. I am.